In recent, very tragic news, Earnie Shavers, a longtime boxer who was regarded as having one of the hardest punches, passed away on Thursday at the age of 78. Reports made no mention of a cause. Shavers was active from 1969 to 1995, but is best renowned for his work in the 1970s. He finished his career with a record of 74, 14-1, and 68 knockouts. So stay tuned to find out all the details about his passing and other need-to-know boxing news. First up, Earnie Shavers has sadly passed away. Here's all the sad details. Earnie Shavers, a longtime boxer who was regarded as having one of the hardest punches, sadly passed away this past Thursday at the age of 78. However, reports made no mention of a cause. Now, he was a true legend. Shavers was active from 1969 to 1995, but is best renowned for his work in the 1970s. He then finished his impressive career with a record of 74, 14-1 with 68 knockouts. He competed against Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali for the heavyweight title, losing to Ali in a decision after 15 rounds in 1977 at Madison Square Garden. Ali needed a good final round to win because the verdict was so close. Following the match, Ali commended Shavers' strength. Ali remarked, "Earnie punched me so hard it shook my family in Africa." Shavers also faced heavyweight champion Larry Holmes twice. The first match took place on March 25, 1978 at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas and was Shavers' first after Ali's defeat. In that battle, Holmes defeated Shavers by decision after 12 rounds. He then defeated Ken Norton to claim the vacant WBC championship. On September 28, 1979, Shavers and Holmes squared off at Caesars for the WBC title. Shavers defeated Holmes in the 7th round. In the 11th, Holmes stood up and started to halt Shavers. Holmes claimed that the blow Shavers used to knock him out was the toughest blow he had ever received. When Shavers was 48 years old, his career came to an end with a second-round knockout loss. The biggest victory of his career, however, arrived in March 1979 at the Las Vegas Hilton when he defeated Ken Norton in the opening round. He will certainly be greatly remembered as a legend in boxing history. That is for sure. In other boxing news, Jake Paul may be going up against Anderson Silva. So what does Dana White feel about this? So Jake Paul might soon encounter his most challenging test yet. On October 29th, a boxing bout between the social media personality turned boxer and the former middleweight champion of the UFC is expected to take place. The booking was first reported by TMZ Sports, and it would be the main event of a Showtime pay-per-view card. But the venue and location were not made official. Paul's business, Most Valuable Promotions, hinted that he would almost probably be the underdog in the upcoming fight over the weekend, with many suspecting it could very well be Anderson Silva. With a professional boxing record of 5-0, Paul, age 25, has notable victories against former UFC welterweight champion Tyrone Woodley twice and former Bellator champion Ben Askren. Earlier this month, Paul let fights against Tommy Fury and Hasim Rahman Jr. fall through. On the other hand, since leaving the UFC in 2020, the 47-year-old Silva has achieved some kind of success in the sweet science. Most notably, he won a split-decision fight against Julio Cesar Chavez in June 2021. Along with defeating fellow former UFC champion Tito Ortiz in the first round, he also recently fought Bruno Azevedo in a draw in an exhibition fight in Dubai in May. Many people consider the Spider to be the greatest MMA middleweight of all time. He has a 3-1 recognized professional record in boxing. With almost weekly events and enormous PPV sales month after month, it is clear that the UFC is a major business. But regardless of how big the business becomes, UFC President Dana White is frequently questioned about Jake Paul, a man who has never entered the octagon. White was questioned about Paul's anticipated boxing match with former UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva, which is supposedly set for late October, at the post-fight press conference following last night's Contender Series event. He may be quite critical of Paul, but in the instance of a matchup with a previous middleweight champion, he actually sounded a little impressed. He went on to state that he really couldn't care who the problem child is boxing next, but then stated, "But if he's truly going up against Anderson Silva, if that's the case, it's about time." He elaborated also, claiming that if this fight goes ahead, Silva might have a harder time than he thinks. But later in the media frenzy, his true feelings towards Paul once more surfaced. Dana then asked for the media to stop asking about Jake Paul, as he doesn't really care what he is doing. "I don't want to discuss him any further." If true, Paul versus Silva is supposed to take place on October 29th. As of yet, no potential location has been given. Next up, could Alexander really be taking on Tyson Fury? Here's what we know. After Tyson Fury set a deadline of September 1st for the announcement of his potential undisputed heavyweight matchup with Alexander Usyk, top-ranked President Todd DeBoef stated that he is waiting, much like the rest of the boxing world. Fury has previously said he won't return to the ring for less than £500 million, but he gave his promoters and instructions last week to tell the WBC that he plans to fight, despite frequently implying he had given up boxing. Fury is being given the freedom to choose his next course of action, DeBoof stresses, but he also points out that anything can happen. According to DeBoof, Tyson Fury is the star of the show. I believe that if a Usyk battle occurs, it will probably take place sometime in the first half of 2023. It's unclear whether Fury's purported deadline ever existed. DeBoof, meanwhile, is not under any time constraints or pressure to reach a deal with Usyk's group. Following Usyk's successful title defense against Anthony Joshua, it has become more apparent that both men are open to and eager for a winner-takes-all fight to determine the heavyweight division's ruler. Given that Fury's recent return to the UK was witnessed at a sold-out Wembley Stadium earlier this year, DeBoof wants it to be considered as one of the biggest heavyweight fights in boxing history. DeBoof claims that Fury is now in contact with Frank Warren Queensberry Promotions more frequently, and quipped that he frequently wakes up in the morning to a flurry of WhatsApp or phone messages outlining the status of a potential Usyk fight. Do you think these two will go up against each other? Let us know. In other news, Anthony Joshua says that he will be returning in December, but against who? Let's take a look. Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, says that everything is still on track for his boxer to make a comeback in December. Joshua has won the heavyweight title twice in the past. Alexander Usyk outboxed Anthony Joshua over the course of 12 rounds in their highly anticipated rematch last month in Saudi Arabia, handing Joshua his third professional loss. After that match, Joshua made it clear that he wanted to make a quick comeback, with December as the goal. Hearn wants to pit him against one of the top 15 competitors. Hearn also told online sources, "We're all shooting for a December return. AJ will be able to build on what he learns in camp and express himself against a credible opponent. Then he may train to be ready to compete for the heavyweight championship once more. But who will he be up against, you might ask? Well, Zhang Jilei, a Chinese Olympian who lost by a narrow margin to Filip Hrgović on the undercard to Joshua's rematch with Usyk, is one candidate. Zhang is Joshua's amateur adversary. Hearn acknowledges that staging the bout in China would be far more profitable, but the current intention is to bring Joshua's ring back to the UK. And finally, Joseph Parker has revealed new details surrounding why he was motivated to go after the heavyweight title. According to Joseph Parker, he lived out his boxing career for the benefit of others at his pinnacle of achievement. The now 30-year-old won the championship vacated by Tyson Fury in December 2016 by overcoming Andy Ruiz on home soil in Auckland and taking it by way of a close points decision. On September 24th, he will face Joe Joyce in a major Manchester blockbuster. As of right now, Joyce Parker will compete in the AO Arena for the title of WBO Interim World Heavyweight Champion. The blockbuster Nowhere to Run is being marketed by Frank Warren for Queensberry Promotions in collaboration with Boxer and will be broadcast exclusively live on BT Sport Box Office on September 24th. 6 years ago, Parker struggled with what he thought was missing from what should have been a time of great fulfillment. Now he may attribute this void to pursuing goals that were not his own. Parker's understanding of his own disillusionment came from being a parent for the first time to Elizabeth at a time when he should have been relishing his role as a national hero in his native New Zealand. He continued by saying that, prior to becoming a father, he primarily boxed for other people, but also for himself since he enjoyed it. He added that his coach, Kevin Barry, who desired to produce a heavyweight world champion, and his father, for whom it was a dream, were the main reasons he was doing it. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the sad passing of boxing legend Earnie Shavers. Now, make sure to let us know your thoughts down below, and as always, thanks for watching.